Hello, welcome back to another video. I'm starting off sitting at my desk with my crocheting angle because I just want to get right into this tutorial and not do a long intro. So starting off with what we have, I have this cotton yarn, which I am assuming is weight 4. I don't have the packaging for it anymore, so I honestly have no clue, but like I low-key would not recommend this yarn because it's just kind of like stiff to work with. And then I have two other yarns. They're actually both loops and threads acrylic yarn in weight 4. And so what we're going to do is 3 different variations of headbands, and I'm just going to do one in each color to make it easy. So what I would recommend that you know before this tutorial is just how to do single crochet, double crochet, and chains. I will have already posted my complete beginner tutorial which shows you how to do these things. So if you don't know how to do them, you can check out the other video and learn all this stuff, but I will kind of just like explain what I'm doing as I go along. So you can either start off with a row of chains. What you would do is you do 9 chains, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then you would single crochet, not into this one, but from the second one from the hook. From there, do your single crochets until the end of your chains. Once you would reach here, then you would join back from once I'm done with my foundation single crochets. So if you're doing foundation single crochets, you're going to start off the same way with your slip knot, chaining 2, and then you're going to start your foundation single crochets like so. And then here you're going to do 8 foundation single crochets. You don't need that extra chain. There's 1, go through both, 2, 3. Okay, and once you've done either your row of chains and then your 8 single crochets, or your foundation single crochets, you're going to chain 3 and turn your work. And instead of going into the first stitch or the second one, you're going to go into the third with a double crochet. Then you're going to chain 1, skip 1, and go into the next. And repeat that again, chain 1, skip 1, go into the next. And then last, chain 1, and instead of going to the next, you're going to go into that chain with a double crochet. And that is essentially what we're going to repeat through the rest of this. We're going to chain 2 this time, and then you're going to do a double crochet into the gap, a double crochet into the last double crochet from the previous row, a double crochet into the next gap, into the next double crochet, into the gap, double crochet, gap, and now you're going to go into the chain. You kind of want to get into that third chain, but it might not really be possible, so you can just double crochet into that second chain instead. And there you go. So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but that is including this chain. So that is kind of just like your extra stitch. Here, you're going to chain 3, skip the first, skip the second, go into the third with a double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, go into the next. Then we're going to chain 1, skip 1, double crochet into the next. Chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet into the top of that chain. And then you're going to repeat this one more time. I'll show you again. Chaining 2, double crocheting first into the gap, into the previous double crochet, into the next gap, and then into probably the second chain. It is just a little bit too hard to get into that third one, so you can't just go into the second one. And so now you're going to repeat that same pattern until it reaches the length that you want. So you're going to do your double crochet whole rows where you start with a chain 3 and then skip the first one, skip the second, go into the third, and then you're going to do double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then you're going to do a row of double crochets, making sure you have 8 total including only double crochets, or 9 total including your 2 chains at the end. I would recommend that you make this the length from like pretty much one ear to the next ear, from like the top of your head where the headband would sit, not any further, just because when you tie on it is going to be tighter than you expect, and so you don't want it to like overlap this actual section when you're tying it. You want it to overlap just this like chain part. Okay, now I'm done. It is pretty much the same length as the other one that I did. It really does not matter how many rows you do, it's just like the length of it based on how you want it to fit on you. I prefer ending it with the row of holes and not the row of double crochets, simply because next we're going to do a row of solid stitches. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, and then now we're going to single crochet into the gap, into double crochet, into the gap, and then you're going to do a single crochet into this double crochet. But now you're going to do some chains. So I think I'm going to do about 20 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, that looks like good length. Now I'm just going to chain 1 extra 1 because it's my turning chain, and then we're going to slip stitch into these stitches. So going under both loops, pulling through, and then pulling through the loop on your hook, and do this all the way back down so that we continue with our single crochets. And then just make sure again that this length works for you, because when you put your slip stitches into it, it's going to make it a little bit shorter than it was before. And now we're going to continue with our single crochets just like normal, going into the gap, into the double crochet, into the gap, and then into the chain. And now you could either chain 1 and cut your work like here, and then over here just tie on your yarn and repeat that same thing. Single crochet, do your chains, slip stitch down, slip stitch, and then chain 1, hook, end it off. Or you can kind of like finish off the side, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do single crochets, I'm going to do 2 into the gap, and then like 2 into each double crochet. So you're not really going into like an exact spot in each of them. You're just kind of like getting your hook through and then repeating that so that it stays even. And it's pretty easy to remember, so that you do 2 in each section. And then at the end, you're going to do 2 into the gap, 1 into like the corner of your single crochets, and then you're going to turn and start doing single crochets over here. We're going to do 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to start our chains 1, 2, 3, 4, remembering to do that extra chain at the end no matter what number of chains you do. So I did 21 because I want 20 slip stitch stitches, and then starting my slip stitches all the way down, and just make sure that you're doing the same number for your straps on each side. It doesn't really matter because that's going to be at like the base of your head, but just so that it's even. Now reaching our last chain to slip stitch into and continuing with our single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. And continue my single crochets until the rest of the row, and then we will be done. Starting with 2 single crochets into the gap, 2 into the double crochet, and continue that until the end of the row. Okay, and going into our last gap, 2 single crochets, and then I'm just going to put a single crochet into the corner. Now I'm going to chain 1, and then we can cut off our work. Now your headband is done. All you have to do is weave in your ends, but I'm going to save that for later, and I'm just going to move on to the next headband. Next, this one is going to be very similar to the headband we just did, except it's going to go sideways instead of like upwards. So what we're going to do is either do your foundation single crochets or your chains for the length this way. So we're going to be working like this instead of working that direction. So I am just going to start doing these. And again, you don't even have to measure it up against another one of these headbands in case you're only making one of these. You just want to measure it for that same length. So like from that one ear to your other ear. All right, now we're about the same length. This is actually a little bit longer, but that's fine. It's not too much longer. And we're gonna do the same thing, chaining 3, turning our work, skipping the first, skipping the second, going into the third. So right here, doing a double crochet, chaining 1, and we're going to repeat that exact same pattern we did for this, but we're just going to do much longer of rows than we did for this one. All right, and now we're reaching the end of the row. I did not count my stitches, so I just have 3 stitches at the end here instead of having 4, so I'm just going to skip 2, go into the last instead of skipping 1. Does not really make too much of a difference. As you can see, it is just like a tiny bit bigger of a gap, but not very significant. And then we are kind of going to cheat the system here. So we're going to do our chains for a strap right here instead of having to do them later. So I'm going to do, I think 20 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 20, and then 21. And then we're going to start with our slip stitches. And all this really does is just make it so that you don't have to attach your work again at the end to add your straps, but you can totally do that. There's not like a right or wrong answer. And just remembering once again that these chains are going to become shorter once we slip stitch into them. So you need to do more chains than the length that you actually want it to be. Now what I'm going to do is slip stitch into the first, like so, and then we're going to chain 3, and we're going to do the same thing. Skipping this, but except this time, pretty easy, you're just going to go into double crochet each time. You're never going to have to go into the gap. And then reaching the end, we're going to do chain 1, double crochet, and then we are going to chain 1 and double crochet into the last chain. Like so. Okay? And then now we're going to do our strap for the other side. So I, again, am going to be chaining 21 and then slip stitching my way back down, going into my last few chains, and then we're going to pretty much finish off this headband. So we're going to do a single crochet into that first stitch, 1 into the gap, and then 1 into the stitch, and repeating that pattern for the rest of the row, only doing single crochets. All right, and now we're going into our last few. Once again, we're going to go into that last gap and then go into the chain, except now we're going to chain 1 and cut off our work. And there you go, now we're done. You could definitely make more rows of this, like make more rows of those holes, even like doing a row of single crochets, rows of gaps, single crochet gap, but I just kind of like this size, so this is what I'm going to do. You could also honestly make this like a bookmark if you skipped doing the straps at the edges. It would be like a little bit bulky in your book because like it is weight forward. Let me actually show you real quick. Like it does work, it is just like bulky at the edge there. All right, and then our last one is honestly the most simple because you don't even have to do any holes for it, but it is just a little bit more time consuming because those holes do make it go by faster. So this time we actually are going to start off with chains and then double crochets, or doing your foundation double crochets, which again, that is what I'm going to do. And for this last one, you could genuinely do it with any stitch you want. You could do double crochets, single crochets, treble crochet, half double, whatever. I am just doing double crochet because I feel like it's pretty simple, but it is all going to work the same way. Just depending on what you're doing, the rows are going to go by a little bit faster. So like if you're doing single crochets, it's going to be pretty slow. It's going to take forever to get the same width as you have for like these ones. But if you're doing treble crochet or even double treble crochet, it's going to go by a lot faster because those are automatically a lot longer stitches. And now I've finished my row of base double crochets, and I'm going to try something different here. We're going to start our slip stitch strap chains, 20, and then remembering once again to do our last extra chain over the amount that you want. So I did 20 chains, and I'm going to do +1, so I ended up doing 21 chains total. All right, and then now that we're reaching our last few chains, we're going to go into the last one, and then we're going to continue doing double crochets. And we're going to do these double crochets or whichever stitch you're using for the rest of the row, and then we're going to repeat our strap on the end, going into the last, and then we're going to do our chains for the straps. So I'm doing 20 and slip stitching into each of them. Now we reach the end of the chains, and I am reaching the end of my yarn, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my yarn to a different color, pull it through like I'm in a single crochet, grab my other yarn, pull this through, tighten it up, and then I'm going to chain 1 because that single crochet is going to count as like essentially a chain, and then I'm going to double crochet into that same stitch, and then I'm going to double crochet for the rest of the row and continuing with my double crochets just like we did with the green. Okay, and then going into the last stitch here, chaining 1 and cutting off your work. And I'm also going to cut the other yarn because this is way longer than I would ever have for an end. And then now we just have this extra bit, and then now all we have left is weaving in our ends. What I'm going to do is put the yarn over my needle and slide it off so I can fit it through like the eye of the needle, and then I'm literally just going to weave it through a few times each way. I'm going to go into the stitch itself, if I can get it through, back out the side, and then I can cut it off. All right, now that all our ends are weaved in, we are done with all of these different types of headbands, and hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you tried a couple or tried one that looked fun. Please make sure to tag me if you post these. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and you can also tag me here on YouTube, I assume. I would love to see like whatever variations of colors or like hook sizes, yarn sizes, whatever they use. I probably will be selling these on my Depop or my Etsy just because like I don't really wear headbands, and I do sell other crochet stuff on there if you want to check it out. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye!